Hey, what's going on, guys? So some of you may remember that point in history when Bandai was going nuts releasing all the different versions of the Crossbone. Well, we're going to get into that here today, starting off with the Master Grade Crossbone X2. And then soon after, I will also be reviewing the Crossbone X2 Kai, the custom kit, and the Crossbone X3. So stay tuned for those reviews coming up. But for now, we're going to check out the Crossbone Gundam X2 Ver.Ka here. I should say they're all Ver.Ka kits in the Master Grade line. Well, there is a non-Ver.Ka Crossbone kits in the Master Grade line. But anyway, the X2 is super cool because it has that dark color scheme, very similar to like what we had with the Unicorn and the Banshee. But the X2 is pretty awesome. And this one has that really cool lance weapon, of course. So a lot to love here with this one. Let's go ahead and get started for today's video. All right, and even though this was a premium Bandai release, we do have the full color box art here for this, which is awesome because of Ver.Ka. You want to have that box art. That's half of the appeal of a Ver.Ka kit, is this amazing box art. So there on the front, just a beautiful illustration there of the Crossbone X2, complete with all those Ver.Ka style markings all over the design there. As you can see, it's got that cool lance weapon and just looks fantastic. On the ends of the box, we've got a close-up of that, and you can see it's a fairly deep box here, so we've got a good amount of stuff inside. That's going to be detailed a little bit over here on this side of the box. As you can see, there's information about the specifications and armaments, and then we got images of what the kit is going to look like, all built, painted, and decaled up there front and back, looking very cool. Around here on the other side, some more information about the kit there in Japanese, about the Gundam, and then some detail images about the weapons, and then just some other details of the kit there. As you can see, the MSRP for this one originally released for 4,400 yen. The Crossbone, as everybody knows, is a slightly smaller Gundam design, but a very reasonable price, I feel like, for this one. So let's go ahead and check out our contents inside. Ooh, some interesting stuff there. But again, even though this is a premium Bandai release and it's not typical for premium Bandai kits, but we do have a full color and basically like a full release style instruction manual here for this, with a really nice image there on the front of the painted kit. On the back side, just the titling and some credits right there. Let's check out these front inside pages where we've got some awesome illustrations of the Gundam front and back there from Katoki-san, and then details about some of the weaponry, the core fighter, all of our weapons. There are pilot figures here. We've got some cool line art there of the lance weapon that looks really nice. And then over here, some more images of some details about the kit, the opening mouth gimmick there, the cloth cloak that it has, and we will have a cloth piece for that. We'll check that out here in just a second. But a lot of really great images on here, including some illustrations of the Crossbone X1 and the X3, which we'll take a look at pretty soon. So there you go. The next page does feature our parts list with a number of X's on there. There's going to be quite a few parts, so not a terribly large amount, but a good amount of leftover parts for this one, it looks like. And then we're on into the construction. So let's see if there's anything else too noteworthy to see here in the manual. It's basically just construction and how to put the cape on. And once we get to our back inside pages here, it's the decal guide, because you can see we are going to, of course, have a good amount of decals. There's our color guide there as well, and just the guide where all the decals are placed on all the weapons and everything, as well as on the Gundam. So let's see here. We do also have some foil stickers for the eyes, cameras, and a couple little yellow accents that are going to go around the kit there for those stickers. And then what you really love to see, the waterslide decal sheet with some really nice logos down here at the bottom. Most everything else is going to be here in white with a couple little yellow bits, but gotta love those Ver.Ka style waterslide decals. We've also got this flexible black wire, which is gonna be used for, I think, like the scissor anchors that are attached to the skirt. This is 21 centimeters in length, and I think we're gonna actually probably cut that in half, but this looks pretty nice. And then we've got our effect part for the beam shield, which has this really nice pink gradient on it and a pretty good looking effect there for that, so that should look good as well. And then of course our cloth. So this does come with a piece of what I think is like a double-sided tape or something that you can use for that. And as you can see, the cloth definitely has a little bit different look to the different sides. This side's much shinier and this side's a little bit less so, but this has been folded up in this box for many years now, so I will try to see what I can do about getting these unsightly, unnatural looking creases out of this cloth effect before we try it on the kit. But it feels pretty good. It has a little bit sort of a plasticky feel to it, but it is definitely heavier and feels better so far at this point compared to what came with the HD kit. So I think this might look pretty good on the kit. We'll see. Getting into the runners then, we do not have any polycaps. So starting off here with runner A, we have some clear pink part for some beam effects there, some regular clear parts down here, some yellow orange over here, and then this dark navy blue color for most of the armor pieces. That's going to be continued here onto runner B as well. And these are all parts that are just from the original Crossbone kit. Runner C has some parts here in this really nice light lavender color, mostly for the feet, the cuffs on the arms, and a couple other little bits there. Runners D and E, a couple of larger runners with the rest of our dark navy blue colored armor parts, some weapons parts on here as well. Runners F and G, getting into some parts for the inner frame. These are in a really nice gray color here. We have 2 of runner F, 1 of runner G there. Runners H and I, some more gray parts for the frame, and it's kind of interesting how runner H does look like it has a very slight tint of like purplish to it, whereas you can see all the rest of the parts for the inner frame, all the rest of the inner frame runners do just seem to be in kind of like a warm gray. This one is looking like very slightly different. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but it's interesting. Runner J, a tiny little runner here with a couple of other gray parts there for the frame. Then I'm going to skip to runner P here for a second, because this is some more clear pink beam effect parts. We're not actually going to use these big ones right there. Those are not used for this kit, but we will use some of these, because then runners K and L are going to be our new parts specific for this particular kit. So basically on runner K, it's essentially all the parts for making that lance. So we got some more parts in like light lavender, navy, gray, and then yellow up there. You can see one yellow orange part there for the new V-fin on this one. And then lastly, runner L here has our new pilot character figure, a couple of the other little white bits, including the skull and crossbones part on there. Very nice. So I gotta say, very excited to get this kit built up. It's been a minute since I've built a Master Grade Crossbone kit. I think the last one was the Master Grade Crossbone Gundam XO. That was a few years back now, but that kit was great and it looked really cool in the silver color scheme, but I'm looking forward to seeing how this one looks in that cool dark navy blue color scheme. Let me go ahead and get this built up and we'll check it out. Alright guys, and here is the kit all put together, and it's been a while since I've built a Crossbone Master Grade, and you know, there's definitely some areas where I think it does show its age a little bit, but you do have to admit just how cool this thing looks. It looks fantastic, and this is even before I've even done anything to it at all. I have, of course, haven't done anything as far as painting, even putting the decals on, just put the couple of stickers that you have on there, which is basically just for a handful of like yellow accents for the most part, which certainly do help add to the design overall, but it's still just a really cool kit. If you were just to throw the decals on there and give it some top coat, it'd be a pretty good looking kit, I think, even without fully painting it. But we do have a ton of accessories to go through, so let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so let's start off with the cape. Now, I wrapped this up in some hair bands, and just left it there for a while just to kind of try to give it a little bit more of a natural look to it. We'll see how this looks on the kit here in just a little bit, but I think that did help slightly. You can still see like the main creases in there though, so I'm not sure of a better technique, if it would be safe like to iron this or not. Maybe if you like ironed it like inside of a t-shirt or something, might be okay. Let me know if you guys have ever tried anything and had better luck with trying to get the cape to kind of look a bit more natural. We got our action base adapter. Now this can hold either just the core fighter on its own, or it can hold up the Gundam by just attaching to the core fighter. It attaches kind of up underneath the backpack, right up in there like that, and so it'll just hold the kit up from the backpack. So that should work pretty nicely. And then we've got our little 1/100 scale pilot figure here, a standing pilot figure to go with this. We do have like the top half of a seated one that's in the cockpit of the core fighter as well. And then to get to our weaponry, we've got our clear pink beam saber effect parts. The beam sabers are stored right in there. They're actually a part of the core fighter, and I think the best way to get these out is probably going to be the old technique of sticking the beam saber effect into there and pulling out the beam saber handle. It's not working. In that case, we'll just kind of push it out from the back first, then stick it in there, and then you can pull it out. So there's our beam saber handles right up inside there. And if you wanted something a bit more substantial, of course, we've got our beam cutlass that has this huge beam effect part here for this that will plug into there. It makes for a pretty large beam sword there compared to the Gundam, as you can see. Now, that's not all that you can do with this cutlass, of course, as we've also got the pistol here that has a clear part in there and then a red sticker that goes over the clear part for the camera on that. So this can just be held in the hand, but we can combine the two by folding this up and out like that. And then on the cutlass, we're gonna fold this part up, turn it around, fold it back down like that. And then these can be combined together to form a beam rifle. So that works pretty cool like that. Kind of missing in additional colors. It should have a little bit more colors going on with it. It's basically just this dark blue and a little bit of gray. So it's one example where painting will definitely make that look a little bit more impressive. And I should also mention, you'll notice that there's hard points on the sides of these, opposite sides, as these two weapons can be plugged onto hard points here on the side skirt, when not in use right there. But then we've got more beam weaponry, of course, here on the back of the arm. These will fold out, and this will kind of cover the hand like that. And you have a couple of options. We've got 2 of these. I think there's like the Beam brand, I think is what these are. That just makes this like Beam X right there. And you've got 2 of those, so you could have that on both sides. Then, of course, we've got the Beam shields. So this is like a couple of parts stacked up. You stick this part on there, and the shield part and a little cap part kind of fit over the top of that. You might want to glue these parts because I feel like the little cap piece doesn't necessarily do like the best job of holding this in place here. But there we go. That's how that's gonna look with that on there. And it's a cool looking beam effect part for sure, but yeah, you might want to glue that just so it's not like falling apart on you, because it's a really small little connection between those beam effect parts, and it's not really the strongest. Anyway, moving on to some more physical weaponry here on the front skirts. You can pop these off of there, and these parts of the front skirt fold out to make claws, anchors. So those will work like that. And then we have this straight chain part here. Do kind of wish that they would give you a couple different options for the chain, whether you wanted a straight one like this or like a more like kind of curvy effect part one would be kind of cool too. You could try maybe melting this slightly and bending it if you wanted to. I'm sure that would probably work pretty well. But then that just plugs into right there where that came off the front skirt. And we've got 2 of these as well, so you could use it on both front skirts if you wanted to, but that's a pretty cool effect, having that part kind of coming out of there like that. Moving on to the back skirts, we've got gimmicks built in here as well, and you actually have an option. If you wanted the back skirts without the gimmick, you do have an option part for that, where it doesn't have, it's basically exactly the same, but doesn't have this little gimmick of having the little handle here in the side of the back skirt that will pop out of there like that. Now this can just be held in the hand, and this is where we're going to plug our wire into once you have that cut down. So it says to cut it to 2 lengths of 10 centimeters each, and this has this little claw bit there at the end as well, and it makes for a pretty cool effect. It's a very like, it weighs practically nothing, so and then the wire is pretty nice and malleable, so you can form this into a nice shape there for that. And then for the second one, you have plenty of wire left over to have like a lot more wire. So if you wanted to have the wire, much longer, don't feel like you have to cut it to the 10 centimeters, which is recommended. You have plenty of wire to make it much longer than that if you wanted to. So, okay, but wait, there's more. Then of course we have the 2 knife blades. Now there's a couple things that you can do with these. You can either have this just sticking out of the bottom of the foot there like that, and have that just be just a kicking, knifing weapon there. But of course we can also pop this out of the back of the calf. The handle comes out of here, and if we pop the blade into the handle like that, it just becomes a handheld dagger weapon. And so of course we've got 2 of those as well. And finally, the main weapon, which differentiates the X2 from the X1, is the fact that it has this lance, which again is quite tall compared to the height of the Gundam. It's going to be taller than the Gundam itself, which you would kind of want it to be for a lance. It kind of makes sense. This one is going to be held in the hand, and you also have these parts here on the top and bottom that will kind of fit around the forearm, so it should be a pretty good stable connection. This also extends out like that, so it can become, well, I guess it's not getting any longer because the total length isn't changing. It's just this part extends either to the back or you extend it out the front like that. And pretty cool, a little bit of color separation for that yellow right there. You will have a seam line going down this part, basically from right here on. It's 2 halves, so you will have a seam line on that. But it's a pretty cool looking weapon for sure, and definitely something that makes this version of the Crossbone unique. So like, especially if you're planning on painting the kit, you can pretty much paint the X1 in these colors, but this is going to be one of the main things that you're going to be wanting if you're wanting to pick up this version of the kit. So at long last, that's finally it for all of the accessories. I don't think that I missed anything, but of course, just to talk a little bit about the kit some more here, we got these yellow stickers for the front and back of the shoulders there. Up on the backpack, a couple of yellow stickers there. And then of course we have a sticker for the eyes as well. And the mouth on the face does open up. If I can get this here, it's such a tiny little part that I always worry like so much about breaking that. But if I can get this opened up here, I can show you. There you go. That will open up like that there on the face. With this being like a really dark color plastic, it's going to be kind of harder to see, but a pretty cool effect. If you were to paint that inside of their gold or something, could look really cool. But then of course here on the cockpit, this does also open up, and there's our cockpit of the core fighter that you can see like through the cockpit of the Gundam there. Basically, core fighter attaches onto there pretty simply. It basically just folds up and pops in from the back. Let's see if I can get this off of here. Well, at the risk of breaking it, I might just leave that in place anyway. So you guys know what the core fighter looks like. It just like it folds up, and then these parts also fold back and kind of go like that, which looks pretty cool. You could have the Gundam doing that as well. I mean, just going like that if you want to do like a super boost looking kind of mode like that. But while we're talking about moving these parts around, let's briefly touch a little bit on some of the articulation of this kit. So these thruster pods here at the top can also be angled. So if you wanted to have these more angled down, up and down like that, you can adjust those. And because we have a core fighter in there, there's really not much as far as like a ab crunch, forward, back, left, right, or anything. Basically, you have some rotation here at the base of the torso, and then like it's just on a ball joint, so you have like a little bit of movement there. I suppose not really too much. And our shoulders will swing out to the front for a pretty good range of motion there. Can bring them up pretty high here as well, and then they're going to work pretty normally. Rotation at the top. Actually, you have a rotation at the top of the bicep and above the elbow joint as well, right there. A double joint in the elbow is going to give you a pretty full bend there. The wrist is on a ball joint, and then our hands are separated so that the thumb and first finger are on a ball joint. The second, third, and fourth finger are joined together like that. All of our skirting armor works pretty nicely, as basically it all has gimmicks built into there. The hip joint will be able to swing forward and back. We do have rotation at the top of the thigh here as well. There's no other movement in the hip. It doesn't like drop down or lift up or anything like that, or lift forward. But with the front skirt up, you're able to get the leg up plenty far to the front there. We have a double joint at the knee as well, which is going to give you a nice full bend there at the knee. And then down here at the feet, again, full detail up underneath there. The toe will be able to bend up a little bit, but not really down, unfortunately. The foot can go side to side, plenty there, forward, not all that much back, pretty well. This ankle armor will also be able to move up and down, and then you have these little fins out the back, which can also move slightly there as well. So overall, really nice articulation here. So if you're looking at the kit and thinking back to a few minutes ago where I said there is a few points here and there where the kit does seem to show its age, and you're looking at it thinking like, well, the articulation looks good, it's got loads of accessories, everything looks pretty good on it. I'm not really seeing how it's showing its age, being a little bit older of a master grade. Well, it's really more so to do with kind of the fragility of it, and I'm not necessarily saying that it's a fragile kit, but it does feel that way a little bit in hand when you're moving the kit around. It does feel like you have to be kind of extra delicate with it, and it's not really so much that it has a lot of little parts. There are a number of really small parts in there, like I mentioned, in particular, like in the face, but that's not something that, like, once you get it in there, there's not really too much risk of breaking that once you have the head assembled. So it's not necessarily that it feels like moving the kit around or posing the kit that anything is going to break, but it doesn't necessarily feel all that solid either. Anyway, I think the kit more than makes up for that just by, number one, just looking really cool, just the base kit itself. We've got water slide decals included, which you can throw on there as well, and then just a mountain of accessory and weapon options that you can choose from with this. That's kind of one of the things that's true for kind of all the different Crossbone kits. They're just packed with tons of accessories and weapons, and there's no shortage of posing options for how you might want to pose this kit. You're probably going to have a harder time just trying to pick like which pose to do with this, because I mean, there's a lot of really cool weapons, whether you want to use like the scissor anchors in the front skirt. Those are really cool. The whip that you have from the back skirt, obviously you're probably going to want to use that lance, but then you do also have like the beam brands. You've got the beam cutlass, the saber, the beam rifle. You've got just the regular kind of beam sabers if you wanted to be a little bit more traditional with it. You got the daggers. So there's, anyway, a lot of stuff that you can do with this. And then the cape works pretty well, as you can see. The cape works pretty nicely. I think for anything in this scale, it's going to be kind of hard to make an actual cloth cape look too convincing without kind of really trying to put a little bit more effort into it. Whether you want to, like, in the manual, it actually says to use your nippers to cut the edges of the cape to make it kind of look a bit more frayed. You can do that. I would maybe recommend just using like scissors rather than your nippers. And like maybe some combination of trying to burn it slightly with like a lighter or something. You'd have to be really careful with that. I'm not really sure how well it would work. But again, if you guys have had success with the cape, you know, trying to make that look a little bit better, share your success stories or failure stories in the comment section below. How have you guys dealt with the cloth cape? Now, this one is different from the HG. So the HG one was pretty bad. This one's definitely better, but it's still going to take some finesse to get it to look quite right, I feel like. So anyway, guys, really cool kit. Definitely one that I would recommend if you're a Crossbone fan, with it being a P-Bandai kit. it is going to be maybe a little bit harder to get your hands on, as I don't think this one has been reprinted for quite a while either. There is the X2, and then there's also the X2 Kai, which we'll be taking a look at in an upcoming video, so stay tuned for that very soon. Most of the kit is the same. It's just going to have a little bit different parts of the backpack, a little bit different weapons parts, and so we'll kind of focus that review more so on just basically what makes the Kai different from the regular X2, but that'll be for a different day. For now, guys, thanks so much for checking out the video. If you want to check out some more Gunpla for yourself, check the link in the video description to USA Gundam Store. Got all sorts of great stuff there on the website. And for all of your support, guys, leaving a like, making sure that you're subscribed, all that good stuff, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Until next time, hope you all are having a great day. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.